Angie Andrews eyesight. Oh my goodness. I am like on a Holy Spirit high right now. So I wanted to share my observations of the times in our lives where we don't really understand why we're maybe in a dead end job. Because those are actually times of preparation. And I have always used waitressing as that comfort thing, the fallback thing. But I find myself at one establishment where I make zero, like zilch, close to absolute jelly beans. But it's an assignment. And the reason I say that is because um, I don't think there's a person I work with that I dislike. I mean, there's people I know don't like me. I don't really care. I think that happens when you get older though. Like, and then you really like know the confidence of who you are, and then you just don't care. But the cool thing is I'm learning to accept people just where they're at. And there's just certain people you look at, you keep walking on because you just don't expect anything from them. But that's okay because it's a job. You're just there because you're trying to earn money. But because I'm not earning money, I know that I'm supposed to pray for people. So every time I go in, it's kind of incognito, like I did in the schools in Savannah. Every day was a new day. It's very much the same. But tonight, there was something about tonight, and this is 11:30. The date, November 30th, and I just felt like this unction in the spirit to just go for it. Like whatever, just pray for all your tables. And the one I worked at in Maryland years ago, it was like the hot spot for anointing. And I'd go out with everybody after work and they'd be like, what have you seen in my life? And I'd prophesy over them. So this is very much that atmosphere. It is ripe because the kids that I work with, most of them go to Kennesaw, or they're just really vibrant, or if they're pissy about things, they just say so. And it is just my heart. Okay, so I had to take this random table, which never happens. It's like, ooh, bonus. And I go over and I notice the baby was not able to take notice of objects. Like when I moved my hand and stuff, I knew cognitively there was something wrong with the brain. And I'm thinking, did they get vaccines for this child, and has it been like that since the vaccines? Are they with an autism diagnosis? What's going on? So I didn't want to say anything, but the husband said something about, we've been out of the woods for a while because our baby was in the hospital for 103 days. And I'm like, hold up, can we stop there? May I ask what's wrong? And they went in to tell me this story about he was born with a brain aneurysm 6 hours after he was born. Was 6 hours after he was born, and that the husband was doing the talking, and the mom was just sitting there. And so I said, this is a big deal, guys, and I'm not taking it by accident that I'm your server because I'm not supposed to be your server. So I'm gonna pray. Is that all right with you? And they're like, please. And I'm like, okay. So it was very important for me. I've been doing a lot of work with neuroscientists this year for my own healing of my brain passageways from PTSD and the sympathetic nervous system. It sounds fancy, but it's not. It's basically just getting your hormones and your emotions in check, but everything has memory, even down to your cells. So, the brain waves that I have to revamp, it's really keyed me into how I do counseling, how I communicate, and how I accept those people that really aren't really contributing to anything in my life, and they kind of like are this, punch the card type people. But you let it go. So I started praying for the baby, and it was really cool because he started looking more. Like he was unable to look beyond just directly in front of him, but he almost was looking up to the light, and we were starting to see eye movement, which was very positive. And I really felt impressed upon to pray for their finances because I felt something had really shifted. Obviously, if your child is in intensive care with 31 surgeries, and I think the baby was 9 months old, had a stint in its brain, just massive, massive trauma. That's literal trauma. But however I prayed, they proceeded to tell me that I had no idea could not have known anything that I spoke without being led by the Holy Spirit, because it was nailing it. It was dead on what they needed to hear. And the mom was crying. And I mean, it was just phenomenal. So I got to, spend the rest of my evening talking to them, but it ricocheted. So it was a domino effect. And then my other table came in and it was like, boom, download. So there were two children there and the one teenager. I just, was getting a lot for what she had been through this year as a 10th grader. And she's like, yeah, I'm in 10th grade. How'd you know? And I'm like, the Holy Spirit's telling me. And the parents were like, cool. They're like, awesome. This is like, we're down with Jesus too. And I was like, dang, this is 2 for 2. And this is fun. I was like, like the energy was rising and I'm like, here we go. Come on, Jesus, come on. And then I'm just flitting through the air, and then I'm like jumping around station to station. Do you need any water? Do you want me to get you extra bread? What do you need? And, so that's where it gets really fun. And this does happen pretty much every time I go into this job. And it's just like this euphoric thing, man, where you're literally just be walking on air, I promise. But then I had my third table, right? And so my third table, they came in and they were like this couple and they were really chill. I was forgetting things left and right because now I was like, and I was just having so much fun that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And but they were really cool and I wanted to bless them. So I said, I really just want to bless you. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's our anniversary. They didn't tell me any of that. And I'm just like, wow, your countenance is glowing. And how many years? And my dream was always to be married 50 plus years. I'd have to pretty much get married tomorrow and then it'd be like, what, 103? Anyway, over it, done. Anyway, so it was like 3 for 3 now. And that's my favorite number 3. Of course, I was born on June 3rd. And then 33 means, supernatural in your everyday routine. And that was the clincher. I'm like, man, Lord, I could do this. It's like, yeah, I complain a little bit, like, really, why am I wasting my time? But it's not a waste of time when it's an assignment. And that's the joy of doing the Lord's business. I remember Will Hart talking about his stint when he worked in Lowe's, and he didn't understand it, but he'd be like, Jesus is here on aisle 7. And he would just be praying for people. And that is the cool thing, man. It's like you don't care about the money. You don't care about reputation. I mean, people, whisper and talk about me all the time. And I'm like, look, I make fun of myself just for the point of beating you to the punchline. So it's okay. I totally get it because I will be a fool for Jesus. And there's really no way that I can get that out of me because that's a risk I'm worth taking. I'm going to always do that. But, I had, I think, 5 tables total. And just the entire night, it was blessing, 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 and more Lord, more Lord. And I watched this one particular table get over their grievances because they weren't greeted very nicely at the front. And after I prayed for them, they were like, we'll let it go. And I'm like, see, I needed that too, because there's a lot of grievances going on here, with my coworkers. Of course, it's the hospitality industry. Talk about cray-cray. But it was just all around just so uplifting. And that's my point. Assignments might not be in the world's sense successful because the world says success is money, 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 money. Okay, well, no, true success is first and foremost, your relationships are in check. And the people that you keep in your closest circle, you're going to be working on them and you're going to be devoting time to them. And that establishment of priority is going to let those people know that you care and love for them. And from there, everything else matters because the Bible actually says it's your family and it's God and then your family and then everything thereafter. But assignments are meant to do that. They're meant to pull your heart closer to how God sees other people so you learn to appreciate the close people that you have and you love them more for what they do to just bring you into a deeper understanding that we all have worth. So anyway, it was just exciting and I had to share and okay, I'm going to do it again when I go back in tomorrow.